Quick thing on Netflix. Netflix, New York Times reports, hopes The Gray Man, a $200 million film starring Ryan Gosling and directed by the brothers behind Avengers Endgame, can be the sort of a blockbuster franchise that attracts subscribers. They're expecting to lose 2 million this quarter. How do you feel about Netflix?
Have you watched the preview for The Gray Man?
No, but someone watched it in my Discord and they told me it's not good.
Oh my God, it looks so boring.
Yeah.
I will not watch it. It looks so painfully boring. I don't see how I could get into it. And especially when you've got
200 million is a big budget. Those are box office budgets.
Listen, I saw Top Gun 2 with my kids recently, right? That was a big movie that you want to see in a movie theater. And they had a preview for Mission Impossible. I forget the name of whatever, part 1, which means there's going to be 2. Those are movies I want to go to the movie theater and see. It's huge. It's action. It's exciting. It's made for the big screen. Some things don't work. Jack Ryan, they made some for the movie theater, and then John Krasinski made some for I forget who that was, Amazon Prime, maybe, whoever it was.
I think so.
Really cool, well done show, good character. It makes a ton of sense. Gosling, to me, is not the right person for that role, nor did it even look or feel interesting. You know how he sort of has that affect of I'm ultra common movies, even though it's coming at me. It's dude, it's okay to get excited, and you don't have to play the same character in every movie. And I just think it looks like it's going to be a flop. I mean, people will watch it, but I don't think it's going to get what they need. What Netflix needs is so far beyond what I can probably answer. I don't know. I mean,
they need Microsoft to buy them.
That's the thing. Like Squid Game, amazing. But then the problem is now you have to wait years to get something back. No, I don't blame them. I mean, of course, it takes a long time to make a show. I mean, you understand how hard it is to make content. But for crying out loud, when you have a big hit and there's nothing to follow it, it's geez, man, look at HBO, look at Showtime, look at all the other premium networks we've all grown up around. They may not always have had a Sopranos, but there's always something else at least moderately interesting that you want to tune into.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a humongous Westworld fan. I absolutely love it. I just watched the new episode today on a break, and I was like, oh my God, I'm hooked again. Now I can't wait for the next one. And they do a great job of having enough really great shows and then good shows too. Game of Thrones, sure, last season ruined the show, but overall they had people hooked for almost a full decade. Yeah. Now they're coming out with the prequels around the dragons, and those, you watch those previews and you're like, I want to watch that. And that's the HBO quality you're getting. Netflix is stuck between a rock and a hard place because they're trying to grow a tech company. I know people argue on that, but grow a tech company, appease earnings, which is going to be tough, and consistently bring in massively interesting content, while at the same time trying to make sure the content's also friendly to everyone.
Right.
And so that means there's also a lot of controversy. So there's a lot of people who are like, I'm canceling my subscription because you're pushing this, which I think is negative. And then a whole nother group of people are saying, I'm quitting because you're pushing this that I find is offensive. And they've got this unique challenge of not being included with much. For us in my area, we get Netflix for free. So I could care less. If I watch, I watch. If I don't, I don't.
It's interesting because from 2010 to 2015, they were an aggregator of content. It's you didn't think of them as a media company. You thought of them as a legitimate office friends. Everyone licensed their content to Netflix because it was the best technology in terms of streaming service to get that content. But when that was amazing, when that rug is pulled, then you've got to turn into a media company.
You talk all the time, man, about distribution. Netflix was able to give distribution to all sorts of stuff. I know you're not the same age as me, so you may not have really done this, but do you remember going into a Blockbuster?
No, I did. I went to a Blockbuster. I remember I got Will Smith's I Am Legend from Blockbuster.
Okay, cool. So I'm going back to the 80s and 90s here for a second. It was a big thing. You go and get to pick that one movie, and you're going to watch, as a little kid, I'm going to pick a movie and I'm going to watch it 10 times, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to pop some popcorn and we're going to have some Coca-Cola. And it's a really fun thing because the movie theaters are expensive. We can't afford to go to the movies. So we're going to rent a movie. It's going to be amazing. We watch it a ton. As we watch that industry implode for a number of reasons, right? But Netflix being the real, as you said, the aggregator of all of that. I remember getting the little red envelope in the mail and thinking this is just so cool. it's a DVD, it's going to come in the mail, and I can pick any movie I want. And then when they ever came out with the digital version of it, it was like, this is insanely incredible. I have access to everything. And I think about where they are today and where it was when it first came out. What's changed? Anything? Some of their own content, but it's the same exact stuff. Like, I don't even see different stuff on there anymore. My kids don't like Netflix because they think it's boring. It's the same movies for the past 5 years, and kind of is. Yeah. They lost all the stuff to Disney, which was brutal.
That was rough.
And like, so what I wonder is, putting aside
what would make you buy the stock? Like, is there any value play you see? Is there nothing that you're just like, I'm not touching it? They still have 220 million people that pay them $16, $15 a month.
Here's my question: of that 220 million, that'd be pretty good. 220 million people, right? How many are getting it for free because they have like AT&T or Xfinity
or T-Mobile? A lot. I would say a lot. I would say a lot.
And same with Disney, by the way.
Yeah.
How many people?
I have Disney for free because I have Verizon. So
same, exact same. So it's like, if you started telling me like I had to pay for all these separate things, I'd probably be like, we don't need them that bad. You know what I mean? See you later. So I think that's the scarier thing. And again, I almost wonder, like, what's the actual, this is going to be a statement that if someone's watching this as a Netflix poll, they're going to hate what I'm about to say. What is the actual business that Netflix is in? As far as I can tell, it's just that they're trying to be a movie studio or a TV studio. Because I don't think the distribution model is now completely defunct as a differentiator, because everyone has it, right? Right. Their unique play of having a monthly model is defunct. So all they're really trying to do is offer me up some unique shows that no one else has.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily always that good. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe they should, you know what? That other audio company we were talking about the other day, it's like sometimes pivoting is painful and difficult. But maybe Netflix isn't really worth much at all here. Maybe they're just worth whatever any other standard media generation company's worth. Right. And before people go nuts and tell me you're totally wrong, like, I get it. I am totally wrong today in 2022, where they have 220 million subscribers. But at some point, every subscription service ultimately is just a pyramid scheme, not in an illegal way. But there are only so many subscribers, no matter how good your product is, period. Bar none, flat out, that's the answer. What happens if they have 8 billion subscribers, right? They've got every person on the planet. How do they get growth? Well, they can't. Okay, well, that's fine, but not all 8 million are part of their total addressable market. Okay, well, what's their serviceable addressable market? Okay, maybe that's 1 billion. Okay, well, what's stopping them from getting to 1 billion? Well, of that billion, actually, most people can't really swing an extra 15 a month just to watch 2 TV shows. Okay, well, maybe it's 500 million. And you start looking at it more and keep slicing and slicing and slicing. And it's like, maybe 200 to 300 million is the ideal range of who's going to be their customers. And it becomes a value play for a dividend as opposed to a growth stock. And I think that's okay. Netflix to me is a perfect example of, like, if you tell me Netflix is going to stabilize around here and they're going to stabilize on their growth and they're going to pay me a little bit of a dividend with maybe growth if things go well, hey, I'm okay holding it with a nice dividend. But as a growth stock, I don't get it. I don't get it at this point.
And I think that unique technology, if it's valued at the premiums that tech companies get, it's on one word. It's an algorithm, right? Like, that's technology. And if it's a content play, it's an algorithm that curates content. And the problem is, if it's not user generated content, there's really not that much search optimization or what are you clicking on? Like, yes, they have that. But if everyone clicks on the new Leo DiCaprio film, it's like, all right, that you got the click-through rate, you got the thumbnail impressions, but like, what else can you offer on top of that if you don't have literally millions of other pieces of content, because you don't have the users to generate that content in order to create the algorithmic technology to recommend it? So it's a media company. It's a nice media company.
It is literally a media company. I mean, is it any different than when we talk about Twitter?
No.
What is Twitter without its users putting information on it? It's nothing.
Right.
It's not. That's why it's so hard to value Twitter. Same reason. I mean, the same thing you say about Netflix is the same thing I would say about Twitter. Like, how do you find growth? Where do you extract growth from?
Because Twitter, you also got to find people that are chatty enough, like you and me, to want to express that much. Everyone wants to put up a photo, but you've got to find like intellectuals, if you want to call it like that, on Twitter.
Yeah, I agree.
There's barely 200 million people that have a couple of unique things to say per day, other than hodl crypto or Bitcoin, right?
Well, so maybe this is the answer that is missing at Netflix. Is maybe they need to find a way to get better platform engagement. Like maybe that means bringing in more regular people to have a YouTube style experience of putting their own content on as like a junior Netflix, or shows to watch or things like that. Like they're missing the way you explained that a minute ago. I hope that makes its way to an executive at Netflix, because what they don't, my engagement can't begin and end with the title and the credits.
Yes. Yep.
That's not engagement. That's me watching a show that I would have watched on Xfinity On Demand if it was available.
100%.
That's not a value prop. And I think that if you can get me engaged in something, even like voting for my favorite new creator on Netflix, or voting for my favorite show on Netflix, and I'm not saying it's going to do much, but like you've got to get me engaged. It's not enough without engagement. And I know this is way off topic, but I think it relates to the same point. You can as a creator on Facebook, you can monetize on Twitter. I'm sorry, on Snapchat, on TikTok, rather. Michael, I'm gonna reset. If you want to monetize as a creator, it's easy to do on Facebook. It's easy to do on YouTube. It's easy to do on TikTok. I'm not insinuating people can make tons of money. Maybe you could, but realistically, probably not. But my point is, it's easy to do it. The problem with Twitter is their entire success depends on people who are engaging and driving conversation and driving people to spend more time.
Yes.
And those people get no benefit for being those creators on there. So what they do is they use Twitter. This is the great irony of Twitter that many people probably don't know. Twitter is nothing more than a jump off point for people who are creating content on other platforms.
That's it.
I shared this the other day. I got a lot of flack actually for this, but I'm going to say it again anyways. I think TikTok is just a jumping off point for OnlyFans, because I have never liked an inappropriate video ever on TikTok, but that's all that I get.
But they know you're a man. They know you're, yep.
Well, and that's the problem, right? I literally don't want it on my phone because my kids look at my phone. Now, they don't look at TikTok, but God forbid, some of the stuff, it's like, I don't want, even by accident, I don't want them to see
pseudo porn.
It is literally right at the edge. And all it is just ads for like, want to see more?
Yep.
Check the link.
Yep.
And that's why, like, yeah, TikTok is crazy engaging, but for how long? Until the next one comes along, and then the next one's going to be totally engaging, so the next one comes along. And I think the companies that are going to do really well, I'm gonna make a comment on Snap, even though earlier I said I wouldn't, but this is purely about an outgoing technology perspective. What makes Snap really different is they have amazing messaging services and fun but actually useful technology outside of the application of social media, like being able to put backgrounds on or funny faces. If you look at it as just a funny face, it seems silly. If you look at it for augmented reality, however, that's a much bigger play. TikTok doesn't have that. Twitter doesn't have that. That's why you don't get the level of engagement. Simply staring at doing this, it looks like engagement to an investor who doesn't know, but this is not engagement. Yeah. This is me just being dulled into falling asleep tonight looking at some pictures, like you said a moment ago with Instagram.
Right.
So I think it speaks to the fact that Netflix is just long form Twitter. I'm going to watch just enough to see the one piece of content I want, and then I'm out. If Netflix could find a way to generate more, I know how this is like a gigantic ask, but I'm just saying they need something that's so far out of the box that they have people rushing to be on their platform. And maybe the way they do that is they have an entire program for kids who want to get started in creating content or making movies or young actors or plays or music. I don't know. All I'm saying is there's an entire world of people who want to create stuff. Maybe they can have a whole program to help them create it and get on the show ultimately. And maybe it's reality TV that they host themselves for people who are creating TV shows or creating movies. And you can now watch that as a fan of Netflix and vote on what's going to be made into a series. Now you are engaged. Now when it comes out, you want to watch it. And then those people will also push that show for them because they want people to watch this show so they win,
Yeah, I 100% agree. Here's the conundrum that I think Netflix is in, and it is the conundrum that is the philosophy that is driving everything I'm trying to do right now with the things I'm building, which is that attention has fundamentally shifted from premium to authentic. YouTube Red started in 2015. They started making originals where they were like paying Marquez Brownlee, which is like one of the biggest tech creators, to have his own original show. And they quickly realized, no one wants to watch this like high-tech produced like YouTube original. They just want to watch Marquez Brownlee do an iPhone unboxing review because he can make the video himself. And like he has these little jokes and insiders that only his fans who were watching him from 2009 understand. It's this authentic relationship that will never get you to not watch his video on the platform of YouTube, which means all the power goes back to YouTube. Netflix tries to do that with marketing the reality TV shows on stars on Instagram, but that authentic relationship just isn't there at the same level of what a random guy who lives in New Jersey who's talking about stocks in his basement gets in terms of excitement and energy. So if that's the case, if you said Netflix needs to open up a program for creators, I mean, why don't they just go full on and say, all right, YouTube, we're coming after you. Hey, Netflix is now a user-generated content platform. And now I don't know what's the unique differentiation. They got to figure that out. But like,
agreed. I think the problem is it speaks to like such a terrible answer though.
Yes.
That the only reason YouTube can afford to pay people to create content is because of ad dollars.
Yes.
And then it brings us right back to the conversation no one wants to have is, should Netflix just be putting ads on all their stuff, which is the model they're talking about doing. As an investor, does that do anything for me at all?
Right.
The answer is God, no.
Right.
My God, no. Because all you're doing is taking the same, 100% of total advertising and giving everyone a teensy little less of a sliver so they can get a little tiny sliver. And it's like, no, man. I mean,
and the reason it works for YouTube is because the entire world is uploading in one place, right? So the level of ads in terms of the hyper specificity of targeting, like I don't even know if these Netflix ads are going to be good because but YouTube ads, we know the data is pretty decent. But if you're Netflix and you decide to become a YouTube, like what exactly is the differentiated variable from advertising that you get to, pop on?
And I think we both know it's not. It doesn't matter because it's not going to happen anyways. That's not what So it's going to be interesting. And so I guess I'll sum that really long diatribe up into this. Show me that you're a value stock and I can get a dividend. Maybe I'm interested in the stock. Outside of that, it's not their fault. Their growth was incredible. They've done, this is actually funny enough. It goes right back to what we were talking about earlier. We don't have realistic expectations, man. No company can grow forever. It's absurd to think that they can. At some point, they've maxed out that part of the business. And now it becomes about optimizing the experience and getting me to watch not 2 shows, but 20 shows or I don't know, whatever, right? That's how you get me to be on the platform more. That's how you get more licensing and royalties and all this other stuff. So anyways, those are my thoughts there.
I agree.